confirm you're going live.
No way! The big male baboon's chasing her. Remember, you are watching this live.
What did you see? We gotta be quite careful with these guys.
Unfortunately, I think this is the end.
You have your fire! Look at the nose! There's a herd of zebra. This is the most epic thing in the world, ever.
Good morning, and welcome back to Africa. You are on the second of 8 live safaris brought to you from one of the world's most iconic wildlife areas. Dawn broke about half an hour ago. It's 67 degrees Fahrenheit, and my name is James Hendry, and I will be talking to you from the safari tent. But who I am and where I am is not nearly as important as you. Please talk to us during the course of this drive. #SafariLive is how you get hold of us. Doris, our Morse code operator, is currently indisposed, so Twitter, #SafariLive is the only way to get hold of us. Let's take a closer look at where we are in the world. Right, we're in the northeastern corner of South Africa, the world's most magnificent country, in the Kruger National Park, the western fringes of that 8.5 million acre magical wilderness wonderland. Now, I have magicked myself back into the tent where I am sitting very comfortably. Last week, you met Karula, the 12-year-old leopardess, and her 2 cubs, Shongile and Hosana. You've had a brief glimpse of the Nkuhuma Pride, one of Safari Live's very favourite characters. And unlike Jimmy Fallon at the Golden Globes earlier, there are no teleprompters here today, which means we will be improvising completely. Brent will be improvising with the lions. Jame will be improvising with some hippo and hopefully some leopard a little bit later. And Stefan will hopefully be improvising himself some breakfast from the wilderness around him. Without further ado, let us head straight across to Stefan, half Conan the Barbarian and half Jean-Claude Van Damme.
And welcome to the bushwalk part of the Sunrise Safari, and also of the second of the series of safaris that you're joining us for. My name is Stef, as you saw, and I am on foot in the middle of the Kruger National Park, one of the largest true wilderness areas left in the world. This is an 8 million acre portion of park that we get to walk around in and to share with you. Now, why are we walking around here? Quite simply because exploring on foot is one of the best ways to show you this story that is the bush out here. While Brent and Jame are going to be showing you about the animals and their stories and what they basically have to tell you, I'm going to be sharing with you the bush, how to live off the land, what lives on it, what lives under it in these bushes, how you use it, and sort of these bush tips, tricks, and survival things that we're going to be doing over the next couple of hours and also over the next couple of weeks as well. Now, why are we walking around here today? Quite simply because I'm looking for elephant. But before I tell you about why I'm looking for elephant, there was a little bit of pixelation on the screen. That's because every now and again a tree gets between us and where we are getting our signal from. We are on foot, we are live, we are coming to you from the middle of the Kruger National Park, and so every now and again it has a little bit of a breakup. Now, to come back to that elephant story, the elephants have come back to this portion of the Kruger National Park to feast on marulas. Now, that tree there is a marula tree. It gets a berry this time of the year, a juicy berry, which I'm sure we'll show you throughout the show. And the elephants start to congregate here. I haven't seen a bull elephant here for probably a couple of months now. They left in about May last year, and they are coming back now in force. And what I want to do is try and find you one of these bull elephants. They just come in mass. We're looking at a couple of 100 animals that come into this area to feast on these marula trees. And that's my plan today. So nose into the wind, head to the nearest marula tree thicket, and from there use your binoculars to scan the thickets for elephant bulls. And I'm hoping that underneath one of these trees or under these thickets of trees we get to show you one of these bull elephant. It's just such a fantastic day, you know. It's one of these overcast days. It's not too warm, it's not too cold, it's green, lush. It's been raining here for the last 48 hours or so. Just have a look at the landscape here. Very, very nice. Now, I have a question for you. Of course, we are interactive. You can get us on the hashtag Safari Live using Twitter. And I have a question that, let's see, relates to walking around. If you're walking around here with me, what do you think is the most dangerous thing to bump into? Is it one of the big five? Is it a crocodile? Is it a hippo? The big five being lion and leopard, elephant, rhinoceros, and buffalo. Decide which one of those that you choose, and then give it to the hashtag Safari Live, and I'll discuss it when you see me the next time again. But without further ado, why don't we go and see what Jame's been doing?
And a very good morning to all of you across the world, and welcome to the second installment of your live safari adventure here from the middle of the Greater Kruger National Park area. My name is Jame, and this morning VM is on camera with me, and this morning we are going to be searching for one of Africa's most iconic big cats. You've seen Brent with the lions already. We're going to be searching for the spotted cats to try and figure out what they've been up to over the evening that has passed. It rained yesterday, the bush is teeming with life, and that means it makes our life very, very exciting when we go out in search of them. Now, last week you met Queen Karula, the female leopard of Djuma, and her two gorgeous and playful cubs. Yesterday afternoon I saw her oldest daughter Tundi and Tundi's little cub. So this morning we don't know what we're going to see because this is a live safari, but we're hoping for one of the magnificent female leopards that we get out here, and I've had some amazing sightings this past week with Queen Karula. Hopefully she decides to make an appearance on this live safari. But because it is first thing in the morning, we thought we'd start off with this iconic African view right outside Chitwa Lodge. So we are on Chitwa Private Game Reserve, and we are sitting with the Chitwa pod of hippo and of course the Chitwa group of Egyptian geese. That now I know that Stef was talking about the most dangerous animal to encounter on foot in the bush. Now, this isn't the answer to his quiz. However, growing up as a child in Johannesburg, which is in South Africa, this was a particular creature that terrorized all of us. Whenever we went as children to visit the Zoo Lake, which is a park in Johannesburg, there were always Egyptian geese running around, and they had this amazing ability to sneak up behind you and bite you when you least expect it. No longer terrified of Egyptian geese, but those memories certainly remain. Right, in this beautiful, beautiful morning, let's go back over all the way to Djuma so that James can tell you a little bit more.
This is a leopard skull. Mercifully not any of the leopards that we know around here. Now, last week, as I said, you met Karula, the 12-year-old female leopard, and her two magnificent little cubs. Have a look at what we saw last week and, of course, what they did during the course of the time that you weren't with us. Right, there are the two cubs, Shongile and Hosana, both 11 months old. The male on the left and the little female on the right. They are now, well, they delighted us last week playing. And there we have Karula. She was, of course, marking her territory and trying to find something to eat for those hungry little cubs. She went up there, and that was the last we saw of her yesterday. At least last week. Then the very next day, we saw the two cubs and the queen together in the shade of this drainage line. Now, it seemed that she was leading them towards a kill, but later investigation revealed that perhaps whatever she had killed had been stolen by lions. She left them right where you can see them there, and then the next day she killed an impala. And the cubs were nowhere to be seen, and so she stashed this young baby hapless antelope in a tree. And just watch this amazing balance that she has. It's not a very big impala, in fact very small, but still the dexterity and balance was quite phenomenal. And she went off to fetch the cubs, brought them back, and the greedy male devoured that entire thing during the course of the night. So a fantastic time with Karula and her two cubs during the week. Now, over here, we have a much larger animal, and you've just seen them, of course. They're on a kill, eating some buffalo. So let's go and find out how our very famous and very favourite Nkuhuma Pride are enjoying their buffalo breakfast.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure to introduce you to the royal family of Djuma last week. Now this week, we get to introduce you to our very special Nkuhuma Pride. Now, we've been through ups and downs, trials and tribulations over the last while with this pride, and I'm so absolutely ecstatic to be able to introduce not all of them, but quite a lot of them to you. So we've got 6 cubs here and 3 adult lionesses. Ooh, some growling, which means there are 2 female. Oh, listen to that. But quickly across to Stef.
Look at what we've got. We've got an elephant with hyena in front of it. We just heard these hyena making a noise, came to have a look, and we found an elephant. I don't quite know what's going on. Hyena are moving in front of the elephant. Now, it's quite a dynamic situation over here. Elephants are very dangerous to approach on foot. And hyena, of course, have that nasty reputation that they're born with. Doesn't look like they're taking any interest in us, to be quite honest. Looks like it was just 2 hyena moving. Let's see what's happening now. That elephant, he's a little bit unsure. I tell you, I'm shaking at the moment. It's quite exciting when things around you just happen. What happened is we heard some hyena calling in the bush over here. We came to inspect it just a little bit after we spoke to you last. Hyena came running out of the bush. Next thing, boom, this big elephant comes and sticks his head out of the trees. And it's because he's been feeding on these marulas in this thicket in front of us. From the looks of things, he's carrying on feeding, which means the hyena have carried on going. Difficult to say what they were doing. You might find that they were harassing another predator, a lion or a leopard, for instance. And they've now moved off, going back to their den for the day. They're mainly nocturnal animals, so they would go and sleep during the daytame. We got this elephant here. I think what we're going to try and do is sneak up a little bit closer and give you a view of him. He's busy eating these marula trees. Now, the answer to the quiz that I set you a little bit earlier, which was, what is the most dangerous animal to approach on foot out here? It is without doubt, in my opinion, the African elephant. And the reason for that is because they're big, they're aggressive, they're intelligent, and they're very difficult to read. An African elephant's expression, of course, is not like a lion, which can show you its teeth and growl and roar at you. Ooh, just busy keeping my eye on that Ellie bull. An African lion is expressive. An elephant is not expressive, and quite often you can overstep your boundary and get too close too quickly. Now, this particular elephant bull is not moving too much. He's just staying around at this tree. But I do have to say thank you very, very much to Brittany and Bianca, who said elephant during that quiz. You guys had the exact right answer, so well done on choosing that, both of you. All right, come and have a look over here. That is a large African male elephant. You can see the tusks are quite robust, thick, and facing forward. Now, without really seeing much of that elephant, I know it's a male because of that. If it was a female, the elephant tusks would be a little bit thinner, and they would also be pointing to the ground. Male elephant joust with their heads, and they bump together, and they use their tusks to fight with one another. And that's why the tusks point forward slightly. Now what he's doing is he's standing underneath the marula tree. He's picking up one marula fruit by another. They're about the size of a ripe apricot. Using the tip of their trunk. And then he's collecting 3 or 4 at a time and then popping it into his mouth. And they will spend literally hours doing this every day during this time of the year. Marula fruit being very high in vitamin C and sugar. It helps the elephants pick up a lot of weight. There you go. Pop them into his mouth. Now, the trick with how we are going to approach this is simply not getting in the way of these marula trees. We're going to try our best to stay out of the way, out of the wind, and see if we can get you a little bit closer. It is the most magic thing to spend time on foot with large African mammals. but without them knowing that you're there and without us influencing the way that they do their... Oh, Chandra, you're going to walk into a branch. I was just trying to keep Chandra out of the bushes. Without us influencing the way that they behave. We don't want to influence these animals' behavior. We want to share a moment with them. It's very, very special to do that. We don't want to influence their behavior. But the wind direction is blowing into our face from that animal to us. It's going to allow us to get a bit closer. Now, you've asked me if it's true that elephants get drunk on eating marulas. It's unfortunately an old wives' tale that they would have to eat many times their own body weight in marula fruit to get enough alcohol produced in their digestive system to make them intoxicated. So a bit of an old wives' tale, unfortunately, but nonetheless, they do spend hours picking it up, I must be honest. Let's walk this way around. I just want to keep enough bushes between us and that elephant for now, just until we are in a position where we can approach with some decent cover between us and him. We're almost in that position. All right. Now, it's always a good idea to keep your eyes peeled on anything else around here. There, you can see that elephant. And we're going to use the cover of those bushes. Okay, come with me. All right, we're going to need to find ourselves a termite mound over here. We're going to get ourselves into a good position. We're going to do it quietly, and then we'll show you where we are in a few minutes. But while we're at it, you're off to Brent and those fantastic lions.
While Stef moves about quietly, these lions are certainly not quiet. Lots of growling. It's all happening here in the African dawn, and that's why we get up at 3:30 in the morning. I was so excited I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Brent Smith. I have my very good friend Brian Joubert and his hard-working thumb who's bringing the piano tie back. And of course we're with the incredible Nkuhuma Pride, but I forgot the killer bees are what Brian and I called, and then that's why we find you the killer sightings. But it sounds like Stef's also out and about producing the goods this morning, and hopefully Jame's on her way to something spectacular shortly. But now, the incredible Nkuhuma Pride. This is our dominant pride of lions. We spend the most time with them. We've been through an absolute roller coaster ride with these lions over the last sort of 8 months, from being fat, healthy, wonderful lions towards the end of a drought. Although it's difficult to imagine we were in drought with this lush emerald all around us, there was a drought, and these cubs got some complications. There were originally 8. 6 have survived the drought, and they are looking very fat and happy on this young buffalo cow by the looks of things. Now, the Nkuhumas are really buffalo specialists. It's their favorite food, and they march far and wide in search of buffalo. Now, of course, being lions, they are opportunists. They won't only eat buffalo, they'll eat anything that comes along. And you can see quite a few of the lionesses have stopped feeding now. They've sated their hunger, but the little cubs are greedy gluttons and getting really, really stuck in there. Now, remember, this is live from the African bush. We do apologize if some of you find some of these images a little bit sensitive, but this is nature at its most raw and most powerful, and we can't script it, we can't edit it. It's happening this very second, live from South Africa, the Greater Kruger National Park. Now, we are going to go into a quick little break, but there's so much exciting happening out here, just like these lions. And I mean, Stef's been on foot with elephant and hyena. Jame's in search of leopards and lions and other creatures out there, and of course James is clowning around in the tent. But from us here, stay tuned, come back to see what happens next with the incredible animals of South Africa. So Brian, how much is a piano tie going for these days?
Only $9.95.
Only $9.95, bringing the piano tie back. Welcome back, everyone. Of course, we love having all of you with us all the time. Isn't this great? The incredible Nkuhumas making not their TV debut, but definitely their first debut in this series. And look at them getting stuck in there. So only 3 lionesses here. I'm not sure where the other 2 are. And of course, no Birmingham boys in sight. Now, what we are hoping for is a Birmingham boy to come bounding in here and cause a bit of chaos. And we do love a bit of chaos, a bit of action. But I'm just content to sit with the incredible Nkuhumas. So we are testing graphics. So for those of you who are regular viewers and outside of the USA, you'll be seeing some graphics pop up. Don't worry, it's just Final Control making sure that... Oh, what's happened? It's amazing how deep the growls are from these little cubs. Dirty this morning, full of buffalo blood and guts. And it's incredible just to listen to those sounds. Oh, they're looking to the north. I had tracks of a Birmingham boy to the north of us earlier this morning. And wouldn't it be spectacular if one of those males came bounding in here? Because, of course, they're going to pick up on the sounds of these lions growling and fighting on the carcass. Now, those hyenas we heard at the beginning of the safari, right in the opening, I'm pretty sure the same ones that Stef's found. And isn't that exciting to have a hyena den back? And could not have asked for a better time. And to have elephants chasing them, that's even more amazing. Now, definitely something grabbing that lioness's attention to the north. Of course, their hearing is so much better than ours. What can you hear? Oh, well, it seems whatever it is that's lost their attention, maybe it's a little bit further away. There could be a male lion roaring somewhere just out of our earshot. Although with the human ear we can generally hear male lions from about 8 to 10 k's. And look at that little guy sleeping on the carcass. Welcome back to your privately guided live African safari. We're still sitting with the incredible Nkuhuma Pride. Stef's out on foot. He's just found a hyena den. Jame's in search of leopards, and James is in the tent. But these lions, it's calmed down a little bit here. A lot of the bellies are full, and oh, there is some little bit of growling happening. And something is keeping these lionesses' attention. There's some noise that's happened to the north of us. Just watch their heads pop up look there could be the incredible chance of a big male, a Birmingham boy, our dominant male lion coalition, coming stampeding in here to take the lion's share of the carcass. Remember, if you want to ask any questions about these incredible animals, use the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. I would love to hear from you. And we can see now that the cubs, the bellies are starting to get completely rotund as they force as much buffalo meat into their bellies as possible. Now, even a little cub like that can probably eat 10 or 12 pounds of buffalo meat in a sitting. The adults can wolf down probably close to 30 pounds. But it is a really, really nice young buffalo. So probably quite nice and tender. The buffalo have made a good recovery after the drought, so I'm sure there's some nice fatty fillets on this buffalo. You can see the flies, even though it's really early in the morning, the flies are already gathering around the carcass, and you can see attracted by the smell of the stomach contents. Now, there's some carrion flies, or some proper nasty blowflies. Now, those do love a bit of rotting meat. Now, look at that little guy. He's still getting stuck in there. Here we go. Now, of course, we get to see some incredible interaction between these different animals. And Jungle is wondering, will a lioness stay with the cubs during the hunt, or will they leave a cub behind? Now, Jungle, it completely depends on the situation. There's no set, stead and hard, fast rule out here in the African bush, but normally the lionesses will leave the cubs behind while they go after something, and especially something like a buffalo. This buffalo has been taken out of a herd, and the herds here can get to easy 400 plus, and it's very dangerous for a lion cub around those situations. So generally the lionesses will tuck the cubs into a thicket somewhere as they tramp on after a big herd of buffalo, and once the buffalo is down, they come back and fetch it. Now, if they're hunting a small herd, they might leave the cubs close by, and so you can never, ever, ever say anything is a rule out here in the African bush, because as soon as you start doing that, the animals will prove you wrong. We can start hearing some bone crunching coming through now. You can see that lioness as she keeps looking to the north. I keep wondering, is there a hyena hanging around the periphery, or is there a male lion moving in? Now, there'd have to be about 9 to 10 hyenas to challenge this many lions. So the average rule is about 3 hyenas to 1 adult lioness, and so we need 9-10 hyenas for them to actually chase these lions successfully off this kill. Now, we're not going to move an inch. We're going to stay right here with the incredible Nkuhumas, but let's go to James, who's in his safari tent, ready to introduce you to something spectacular.
199! 200! This is an elephant bone, everybody. It weighs 40 pounds. It's very heavy. It's not that I'm a weakling. It's an enormous, enormous piece of equipment for the safari tent gym. Right. While I was doing shoulder presses, Drone Commander Connor Teagues was in the air. There he is, and there's the elephant, and look, there are 2 elephants there. I wonder if Stef knows that. Now, just behind the elephants, to the right-hand side of your screen, is Jame. You can see his aerial sticking up. That's Herbert behind him. And there's Stef in front of the 3 of them, walking towards the elephants, probably, I would say, about 300 feet from them or so. See the much smaller bull in the top left-hand side, moving away from them, and that enormous bull, probably about 40 years old, feeding quietly, probably oblivious of Stef and Jame and Herbert. What an astounding sighting this has been, especially with those hyenas. And they quite possibly have a den somewhere around there, and hopefully we'll find that during the course of the next 8 weeks or so. Let's head straight down to Stef now.
It's a much, much safer thing being up as high as you were. We're probably about 50 yards or so behind this elephant, and it has actually been joined by another one. quite often old elephant are joined by younger elephant as a type of askari. The younger elephant gaining from the knowledge and experience of the older elephant, the older elephant having a bit of companionship. Now I can confirm that this big bull elephant that you're having a look at right now is in muths. What that is, it's a heightened state of sexual activity for these elephants. They have up to 70% increase in testosterone levels. It makes them very unpredictable, very dangerous. Now, I tell you, out here, it is, I don't know how to say, it's epic being close to a big animal like this. He doesn't know we're there. We're going to try and keep it like that as much as we can. He's just stopped underneath that bush, slowly and idly picking at the vegetation. There's a big termite mound just off to his left-hand side, and I'm hoping that he will be able to move on so we can use that termite mound as a bit of cover. Now, there you can see that enormous tusk. That tusk is probably as thick as your waist. Alright. Now, because this is such an epic sighting on foot, and I'm quite excited about it, I don't know if you can feel it, why don't you send in to us a one-word description of what you would feel like if you were on foot to these elephants. You can use the hashtag SafariLive, a one-word tweet describing how you feel, how you would feel if you were standing here with me. That elephant's moved off. We're going to try and get to this termite mound here. Come with us quickly. Okay, so we want to be as quiet as we can, but we also don't want to close the distance too much. And the reason for that is we don't want to spook this animal. I don't want to have to run away from an elephant today. There you go, have a look there. He's walking away slowly. Now I do know there's some water in front, and I'm wondering if he isn't going to go for a mud bath. That ears above his shoulders is a very clear indication of that muth state that these bull elephant go into. Elephant all different all over the world, they all go into muths, but generally a couple of times a year. Now Sarah in Georgia, you've asked me what would I do if an elephant charged me on foot. Obviously Sarah, the trick is to try and create distance. An elephant's only going to charge you because he feels that you're intruding on his space. What you want to do is create distance if you can. If you can't, you want to try and get some elevation. This termite mound would make the perfect elevation if this elephant had to get upset with us. Now I'm going to try really hard not to make this elephant aware of our presence, but if he were to become agitated with us or become aware, we try and create distance and get elevation on top of this termite mound. It's about the only thing that you can do. You can't do much else with these big bull elephant. You can't climb a tree because they'll knock the tree over. You can't run away. They run much faster than what we do. And so the only thing you can do is try and intimidate them. Oh. Okay, hold on. He's got an ear on us. Have a look there. Now, he's moving off to a dam that I know is just in front of him. We're going to try and stick with him as much as we can. But in the meantime, James has got something to tell you about lion territories.
That is a wonderful sighting you're having, and it's very rare, I must tell you. But also as rare, the marula fruit. There it is. Delicious. And what you do, you bite off the skin, spit it out as carefully and genteelly as you can. Squeeze it into your mouth, suck out the last of the juice, toss off the skin, sorry. It's delicious. John, you're in DC, wondering if we can eat marulas. We can. I can. I'm afraid you can't. I'll send you a package if you like. They are delicious. They're one of the only fruits that are truly lovely out here. There are many that people will eat, but that, wonderful. Lots of vitamin C. Now, have a look at my map here. I'm an exceptional cartographer, as you can see. I hand drew this, just while you were away looking at that elephant. That's obviously absolutely untrue. All right, there are a few clouds in the sky today. There we go. Wonderful. A couple of spits of rain now and again. And what I'm going to show you on this map is where those lions live most of the time. Now, we traverse an area of roughly 10,000 acres or so, and probably halfway through our traversing area is a border. And to the north of that border lies the domain of the Nkuhuma Pride, and you've just met them. There's 6 little cubs. That's them there. You see that, David? Do they look like lion cubs?
Oh, yes.
They're very, very beautiful. Now, then they are the lionesses. I'm not going to draw them all because they all look so different and it's quite difficult, except I will draw you our favourite lioness, Amber Eyes. She has got amber eyes. Now, that's where they live, so the northern parts of where we operate, and then the Styx Pride to the south. And there's an overlap of roughly that size off to the south of where we operate, and the Styx Pride are 3 lionesses and just 2 cubs. Now, these chaps, as you've seen, although they are now covered in buffalo guts and gore, they are fat and they're healthy, and although they've had a tough time, they're looking really good right now. They are like gangsters, basically, and I think these guys are like the mafia. They're extremely well-heeled, they've got lots to eat, and they're doing very well. Down below, the Styx Pride, who hopefully you'll meet during the course of our live safaris, 6 more after this one today, they're like sort of low-level street gang. They've got kind of a dodgy look behind their eyes. And you'll see what I mean if we ever meet them. Let's head straight back to these Nkuhuma Pride, and I'm just quickly going to draw for you what they're eating. There it is. Do you see that, David?
Oh, yes.
It's a dead buffalo. Back to the Nkuhumas.
It is indeed a retired buffalo, permanently retired at the moment, and as you can see, the lions are absolutely enjoying their feast. Now, it is absolutely incredible. One must remember that we are 100% live from the African bush. You are seeing this at the exact same time as us. It makes me very excited to be able to share our incredible home with all of you. Now, if we look back at the lions, the one lioness has sated herself on buffalo to the right a little bit, and look at that. That's how you lie when you've got a belly full of buffalo. Her belly's too full, too uncomfortable to lie on the ground, so she's popped her legs in the air and she's reclining against a little bush willow tree. Now, as you said, not the whole pride is here. So there's 3 adult lionesses. That amber-eyed lioness James was talking about is not here. There's a strong possibility she could be off mating with one of the males in the coalition. And as you can see, the cubs don't look so good. They look quite dirty in comparison to the lionesses. Well, you can see that one's doing a bit of cleaning. So they're literally covered in buffalo gore, is the best way to describe it. Blood, guts, stomach content. And lions, although they look quite pretty a lot of the time, they forget all their table manners when it comes to a carcass. Now, Jerome was wondering where all the blood was. Now, Jerome, all the blood has probably been drunk by the lions. They've licked it up and lapped it up. It is absolutely wonderful. They do enjoy it. Now, some of the other cubs are lying away from here, but we're going to stick on the ones that are feeding. I'm going to try reposition when we get back after a short break to give you a different angle on what's happening with the incredible Nkuhuma Pride. And of course, you never know what's going to happen next out here in the African wild, especially because we're live. So come back and join us to see what happens next, right after this short break. Okay guys, well let's go on a little trundle around. I know a lot of you are wondering where the rest of the cubs are. So they're just through the bush there we go. They've had their fill of buffalo and they're going to sleep it off. I'm just going to try find a spot to get around so we can have a look at the carcass from the other side. Now, those lionesses keep looking over here, and I think there might be a hyena, just one on the peripheries. I think if there'd been a Birmingham, there'd be a little bit more. Oops, there's a stump. There, well, two were missing, but they've been joined by a third now. Hello, little scallywags. Even too lazy to give themselves a bath after munching on that buffalo. Okay, let's just keep moving around. Let's just find a spot so we don't disturb them. We go a little bit wider. Well, what a fantastic start to the second show. We got to introduce the leopards last week. Now, the incredible Nkuhumas next week. So, who should rock up next week, Brian? Tingana and Birmingham boys, or maybe Birmingham boys on the 4th.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Now, if only the animals played along. Now, there were tracks of wild dogs, but unfortunately they came in and out of Djuma quite quickly this morning. Try to get around. Ooh, it's quite thicky through here. You guys, you're lying in my path. Oh, never stopped me before. We'll just have to move the odd bush willow or terminalia out the way. Here we go. Ooh, it is really hotting up on this sunrise safari. Now, here we go. Just one quick different angle of the Nkuhuma carcass. Well, not the Nkuhuma carcass, the Nkuhuma's buffalo carcass. And let's fly all the way to the east of our traverse to Jame, who's got a massive surprise for you.
Look what we have here at the tent. I'm sorry about that. There seemed to be a lack of communication with Jame. We are, of course, live from the African wilderness, which brings with it certain sort of technical challenges. This is a little Nyala calf. And she's come close to us. She started off about 40 or 50 meters away. That's about 150 feet. And she's closed that distance while I've been standing here to about, well, she's now about 30 feet from us, and this is why we live out here. It's a touch of something truly wild. That animal is not domesticated. It is not tame in any way. All it is, we're not in TV. I thought we might be in TV. Okay, stay there, Nyala. Don't go anywhere. I need to give that speech again to our TV audience. So if you could just stay there, that would be very helpful indeed. Thank you so much. No, don't go away. 45 seconds, little Nyala. 15 minutes of fame coming your way. If you want it, it's up to you. Don't go anywhere, please. This is such a special sighting. Isn't this wonderful? And thank you, all of you on the internet who are watching us, for staying with us. It always feels like you have our backs, as it were, when we do these TV shows. We've got 20 seconds to go. Here we go, everyone. Welcome back, everybody, to your live safari, the second of 8, brought to you from the western fringes of the Great Kruger National Park. My name is James Hendry. You've met Brent with the lions. Jame has got a surprise for you shortly, and Stef has been with elephants. Hashtag Safari Live is how you get hold of us on Twitter. Now, I'm standing here with a tiny little Nyala calf. She started about 300 feet from us. She's closed that distance to about 30 feet now. And this is why we live out here in the wild. For me, this is a touch of the wilderness. That animal is not tame. She is not domesticated at all. She's completely wild, but she has chosen to come towards me. She does not see me as a threat, and it's because I'm not moving towards her. But what she is allowing is me a touch of what the wilderness is. And now wilderness means different things to different people. But to me, this communication that I'm having with this completely wild animal that is now approaching me on foot is too special. Just ignoring me, but just giving me a touch of what it means to be truly wild. She's still there. I'm not going to move. She's just moving around the front of the tent now. And off she goes. Was that not beautiful? I think that's so cool. Anyway, let's come back inside. Remember, we do love to hear from you. Hashtag Safari Live. And while I climb back in to my tent like a burglar, let's go across to Jame, who has a wonderful surprise for you.
What an exciting morning it has been so far on your live safari. Lions with Brent, elephants with Stef on foot, Nyala visiting James at the tent, and now this very special spotted surprise. Now, at the very start of our safari, I said that I was going to go off in search of leopards, and we've got so lucky here on the middle of Cheetah Plains Game Reserve. So we went from Chitwa to Cheetah Plains, so we're now in the center of Cheetah Plains. About a mile in that direction is the Greater Kruger National Park. There's no fences in between us, so we're in this vast wilderness area. And I'd just like to introduce you to a very special little leopard, and his name is Vutomi, which means life, and he is just 14 months old, so just over a year old, and his mother has left him once again. Now, this is a very difficult time of a young male leopard's life, but luckily for him, he seems to be relatively self-sufficient, and he's actually caught something. I don't know what it is. I can't see, but I can hear crunching. Every now and again, from behind the grass, I can see just a flash of bone and meat. So he is definitely feeding on something over there. The birds are going absolutely crazy at his presence. The rattling cisticulars are shouting out their alarm call that there is a leopard here and that everything must beware. So little Vutomi, at just over a year old, is now facing one of the hardest moments of his life. His mother, the beautiful Nkanyeni, is off, or was off, mating with a male in this area. Now, this is where it gets a little bit complicated, so everybody pull out your pens and notepaper and try and keep track of what I'm saying. You met Queen Karula last week, the queen of Djuma, that female leopard. Now, she has a son called Quarantine, who is rapidly becoming one of the dominant males in this area. He's just approaching that age where he started to mark his territory, and for the very first time, we have seen him mating with this little cub's mother, Nkanyeni. Now, this is a rough period because right up until now, Vutomi's entire life has revolved around his mom. He lost his sister a couple of months ago. We're not quite sure what happened to her. She disappeared and was never seen again, as is very common with wild leopard cubs out here. It is a very rough life. And from that moment on, his entire world, as I said, revolved around Nkanyeni. She was the one who would come and get him, take him to food, and now, all of a sudden, he's faced with her protracted absence as nature calls, and she comes back into estrus, or into heat, and is ready to mate once again. But she's doing a very important job by mating with the male called Quarantine. And the reason it's such an important job is that we don't believe, and it's basically impossible because of his age, that Quarantine is Vutomi's father, which means that if he were to encounter Vutomi, and he has encountered Vutomi before, there is always a possibility that he could potentially kill Vutomi. Interestingly enough, when he did meet him, that he didn't kill him, and in fact Vutomi tried to play with Quarantine, which is so strange, and just goes to show that the leopards don't read the textbooks, and sometimes they do the strangest and most unexpected things. But by mating with Quarantine, Nkanyeni is inadvertently, hopefully, ensuring the extended safety of little Vutomi. What have you got there, mister? Now, I have never seen this leopard cub, so you and I are seeing him for the very first time together, but I do know that there is nothing more exciting than a young little leopard cub, particularly male cubs. Now, last week you saw Hosana, Karula's son, who is just a little bit younger than Vutomi. You saw how playful he was, sticking his nose into foam nest frogs and dipping his toes in the water. Young male leopards are incredibly inquisitive, and there's so much learning that goes on, which is why it's such a pleasure to have encountered this particular little chap. My first time meeting him, and what a pleasure it is. Look at this beautiful, beautiful green. Could you get a more picturesque scene first thing in the morning? What are you eating, mister? Some of you may have heard some voices while we've been sitting here listening to the birds and trying to listen to the crunch in the bone. And that's just because we are on a reserve where guests can come on safari, so there is one other vehicle in this sighting with us. But never fear, there is always a restriction on the number of vehicles that can sit with any creature out here to make sure that they don't feel pressurized. And as you can see, he is not bothered by our presence at all. So they are guests experiencing this wonderful moment with us. And for those of you that have the opportunity, coming out here on safari is a truly special thing. But for those of you that perhaps can't, this is the next best way to experience these animals, live, unedited and unscripted. They write the stories for us. And a very warm welcome to Kayla. It is lovely to have your questions sent through. Oh, what's up, little boy? Now, Kayla, you want to know, how do we know how old he is? A couple of reasons, Kayla. One is just because we do follow these leopards so regularly, the crew of Safari Live and also the rest of the guides out here, which means that they all experienced seeing the cubs for the first time. And of course we keep track of how fast little leopard cubs grow, so there's certain defining stages when they get their teeth, for example, and in that way, whilst we might not know their exact birthday, we do know roughly when they were born. Karula's cubs are the exception, because Brent actually saw them when they were a few hours old, but there's a little bit of educated guessing that goes into aging leopard cubs and sort of roughly estimating depending on their actions. And it is lucky for him that he is at this stage in his life, because his mom has left for now. She will come back. Never fear, she will come back. She will find him. But it is very important that at this point he is actually able, not really to look after himself, but certainly to keep himself going while she's away. And that's evidenced by whatever it is he's eating. It's probably something small, something like a scrub hare or perhaps a squirrel. What have you heard, little boy? You can see he's constantly on alert, looking around, and perhaps once he's finished his meal, he's going to jump up and start moving. So while we wait to see what Vutomi gets up to, let's go over to Stef, who is once again on foot with giants.
Isn't it the most special thing to have seen the amount of animals that you have with us today? Lion and hyena and elephant and leopard baby. It's just a bonanza, to be quite honest with you. We've managed to keep up with this big bull elephant. And I tell you, I just have to once again just say how wonderful it is to be on foot with these gigantic creatures, and they don't even know we're there. Now, Thomas, you said your one-word tweet was speechless. And to be honest with you, I can absolutely agree with you on that. It is quite a speechless moment to be with the largest mammal to walk the earth, and one of the largest specimens of that. That is almost a 10,000 pound animal that you're seeing over there. Standing easily over 15 feet at the shoulder. He's busy picking at some grass, totally unaware of our presence. The wind is gusting from him to us. He can't hear us, he can't see us, he can't smell us. Absolutely fantastic. Now, you may notice that we're standing quite a distance away. We're probably about 70 yards from him right now. The reason for that is that there's very little cover between us and him. This particular bull elephant has a lot of testosterone going through him, about 70% above normal, because he is in a condition called must. And that makes elephant like this very unpredictable, very aggressive. There he moves off. Those ears, just like sails, just gigantic. So contrary to popular belief, the sort of Dumbo belief that elephant that used to fly around with his ears, elephant are to be treated with the utmost respect out here. They can get dangerous, super dangerous very quickly, and because you can't outrun them, they run over trees. They really are one of the most terrifying animals when enraged. I was almost killed a couple of years ago by an elephant just this size. I distinctly remember the elephant coming in to tusk me with his tusks and me having to roll out of the way and run away. And it was one of the most I just get goosebumps even just telling the story. It was one of the most terrifying times of my life out here in the bush. So I have a lot of respect for these guys. I think what we're going to be doing now is leaving him to carry on with his day. There's so many other things that we get to show you out here. And to be honest, I think we've overstayed our welcome with this particular guy. We're going to let him go, unaware of us. We're going to go in the opposite direction. We'll catch up with you in a little bit, hopefully with something else amazing to show you. In the meantime, off to James.
My one-word tweet, I'm not going to tweet it, I'm just going to tell it to you, for that sighting is pure joy. That's 2 words, isn't it, David? Mm-hmm. David's on camera, by the way. My word is therefore going to be joy. Astounding sighting. My word for the sighting that Stef described, where he was nearly stabbed by an elephant's tusk, is going to be, well, terrifying. Now, we're going to play a game, you and I. It's called 2 Truths and 1 Lie. I'm going to give you 3 facts, one of which is absolute nonsense, and you can tweet through #SafariLive, and whatever fact you think is nonsense, you write there fact 1, fact 2, or fact 3. Are you ready? David, here we go.
Here we go.
Fact 1. Fewer than 50% of lion cubs will make it through to adulthood. Fact 2. I've forgotten what fact 2 was. Okay, I've got it now, yes. Are we ready? Fact 2. Lionesses will synchronize their births so that they can cross-suckle each other's cubs. And fact 3. Male lion cubs do not learn to hunt as well as females because in later lion life as adults, they don't have to hunt. So those are your 3 facts. #SafariLive, fact 1, fact 2, or fact 3. One of them was absolute nonsense. Fact 1, remember, we've got less than 50% making it to adulthood. Fact 2 was that lionesses synchronize their birth. And fact 3, that male lions do not learn to hunt as well as their female counterparts. Those are the games. And you will win, everybody. My undying adulation should you get it right. So send through your tweets. We'd love to hear from you. Now, we have met the Nkuhuma Pride, but they have a fascinating history, and I told you a little bit about the Styx Pride, and they too have a fascinating history. Take a look at this. The lions of the Western Kruger are used to our presence in vehicles after 30 years of safaris and countless generations of cubs. The Matimba male lions dominated our area for many years. Both the Styx and Nkuhuma Prides lived a blissful existence under the grizzled old Matimbas. Then, in the winter of 2015, the relative peace was shattered. A coalition of 5 young males invaded from the north, seeking a territory of their own. The marauders, known as the Birmingham Boys, put the 2 older Matimbas to flight and set about establishing dominance over the Styx and Nkuhuma Prides. After the inevitable period of upheaval following a coalition takeover, the Birmingham Boys settled, mated with the females, and have now sired at least 7 litters with the Nkuhuma and Styx Prides.
Oh no, and now you're itchy. Shame, little one.
The Styx cubs are having a tough time of it. Mangy and skinny, they resemble a bunch of wilderness urchins struggling to survive. Meanwhile, the Nkuhuma cubs are fat, healthy, perfect examples of uptown lions.
I would like to introduce you to 3 identical little lion cubs and their mom, our new members of the Nkuhuma Pride.
We are privileged to share with you these 2 prides and the triumphs and tragedies of their lives in the African wild.
Isn't that absolutely incredible? You've got to learn a little bit more about these lions. My name is Brent Smith, and you're on your very own privately guided live African safari, and we are sitting next to the incredible Nkuhuma Pride. And isn't this an absolutely spectacular thing? They are no more than 10 feet away from me, and I'm sure lots of you are wondering, why aren't they leaping onto Brian and myself? Why are we safe this close to wild African lions? This is not a zoo. This is not a little safari park. It's an 8.5 million acre unfenced, untrammeled wilderness. And these lions have grown up with the safari vehicles, and that's why they don't react negatively to us, but we'll go into that detail shortly. But just to give you an idea what a massive area we're in, we're busy currently on Djuma Private Game Reserve, which is part of that 8.5 million acre area known as the Greater Kruger National Park. Now, there are no fences. There are just wide open spaces for the animals to roam free. And it is an absolutely incredible privilege to be able to live and work in this area. Okay, now as I was saying, these lions are completely relaxed in our presence, and you can see that they're just carrying on with their daily life as if we weren't here. Now, we're in a safari vehicle, and a safari vehicle's only been around for about 100 years, and which means the lions do not have an instinctive response to us in the vehicle. What they instinctively think of when they see a human being is something like Stef on foot. So you'll get very different reactions from lions from on a vehicle to on foot. Now, as I said, they don't have an instinctive response to the vehicle. So if you drive carefully and considerately, and you make sure you don't push them, you never drive directly at animals, you always come at an angle, you don't act aggressive. They don't actually know what a vehicle is. It doesn't smell like anything to eat. It smells like gas and oil and things like that. So they don't have that instinctive response. However, if I was to stand up, they would recognize that bipedal figure. Oh, some growling going on there. So the upright bipedal figure of man, who is the dominant daytime predator. We've been the dominant daytime predator in Africa for about 200,000 years. And that would, so as I say, if we stood up, it would actually cause the lions either to run away or become aggressive. Of course, neither of which we want. We're here to observe, not to interfere. And it is an absolutely incredible thing. Listen to some of those sounds. And that deep growl, it sort of sends a little shiver down your spine, brings out something primal. And strangely enough, speaking about human beings and lions, we evolved at about the same time, as I say, roughly around 200. Oh, look at that belly. Oh, that is a fat tummy. Roughly around 200,000 years ago. And we are what we are because of lions, and lions are what they are to a degree because of us. And lions being the only social cat is because they had to compete with the only, well, not the only, but a very social ape on the African savannas. A group of men can chase off lions and battle lions during the day, and at night, lions are the kings. So there's a very interesting balance between human beings and lions out in the African savannas. Oh, big tummies all over. Now look at that. You can see they've actually opened up the stomach. Now lions, when they first get to a kill, they'll normally go for the internal organs, the liver, the lungs, the heart. They'll drink the blood out of that rib cage, and only then will they start moving on to ribs and rump and the face and the tongue, after they've got those very nutrient rich internal organs. Now, we've just watched that incredible story about all the lions in this area, and we have had some difficult times and some tragic times with these particular lions. Now, I'm looking for one cub in particular. Where are you hiding? It's one of the younger cubs here. You can see another safari vehicle who's out enjoying the sighting with us there. Now there we go. If you look carefully, some of these little lion cubs look like they still have mange. One in particular seems to be worse off than the others. Now we lost all 8 Styx cubs to mange. They've got 2 new cubs now. But in Nkuhuma's, we didn't lose any cubs to mange, but they still are carrying some remnants of mange. But the best cure for mange is rain, and we're getting lots of glorious rain at the moment. So hopefully they'll all clear up. Ooh. Not that one. So some of the cubs are looking a little bit healthier than others. Now, as hard as it is for us to watch these cubs die in front of our eyes, like we did with the Styx cubs and the Nkuhuma cubs when they got that very rare white muscle disease, it is nature playing its course. So we went through a drought. The buffalo population, the zebra populations, they all took a massive whack, and the lions were literally just growling at buffalo, and they were falling over. They were so weak. So what happened is the predator population exploded, and nature had to sort of equal the balance. So that's why mange comes out during drought, white muscle disease, to keep the predators in check. Because after a massive drought, the worst in 100 years that we've just had, if the predators come out in this absolute boom, it's still going to take a lot of time for the buffalo and the zebra and the giraffe and the other animals to sort of get back to the numbers that are sustainable to hold a big number of predators. So Mother Nature has to make sure that the predator population is kept in check as long as with the prey population. So it's absolutely amazing. And what I like to say is we're in Eden. We don't need to affect it. We mustn't be gardeners in Eden. Eden's perfect, and we must just let nature take its course. Now, speaking of nature and one of the most exquisite designs in nature, let's go back to Jame with the young Vutomi.
From one big cat to another, and what a special morning this has been. Sitting with this gorgeous little 14-month-old leopard cub live on safari right here from the middle of the Greater Kruger National Park. Now, for those of you that have just joined me, my name is Jame, and the gentleman responsible for bringing you the amazing images that you're seeing, his name is Vutomi, and what a gorgeous, gorgeous little leopard cub we have in front of us. Now, earlier on, for those of you that were watching, I mentioned that he was eating something, but that I wasn't quite sure exactly what it was. And we have our answer. This was one tortoise that did not win the race. Somehow Vutomi managed to catch this tortoise, and it's obviously worth the meal. He must have been quite hungry, because he's persistently trying to crunch his way through the shell to get to the tender parts of the tortoise inside. Hey, mister. Okay, so perhaps not your greatest kill or most difficult kill that we've seen recently, but you've definitely managed to get yourself some food, and leopards have to do what leopards have to do out here in order to survive. Now remember, this is 100% live, which means it is also interactive, and you can send through your comments. Perhaps you want to tell us how beautiful this little male is. Perhaps you'd like to ask some questions, and you can do that on #SafariLive on Twitter. I'd like to tell you a little bit of a story about young male leopards, because